Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be going over some really cool long words that have multiple anagrams. Now, all of these words are going to be 12 or more letters long, so they're pretty unlikely to be useful in an actual Scrabble game, but they're still super fun and a great way to show off and impress some of your friends. In each case, I've rearranged the words into a hilarious and hopefully memorable phrase, so feel free to pause the video as I get to each new slide and see how many of the different words you can unscramble from that phrase. Most of them are fairly common, or at least easily guessable, but I have thrown in a couple obscure ones if they're particularly fun. Our first set of words is a shout out to anybody who may be watching this video from Alabama. There are 3 12-letter words that can be made from the letters in the phrase, a crimson tide. So as always, feel free to pause the video and see if you can find any of these words. They're all guessable, but kind of tricky. The answers are co-administer, which of course means to administer together, dominatrices, which is a plural of dominatrix, and finally romanticized, which is the past tense of the British spelling of romanticize, which we would traditionally see spelled with a Z instead of an S, but in the vast majority of cases, words that can be spelled I-Z-E are also valid I-S-E in Scrabble, and romanticized is no exception. Our next puzzle goes out to all of the folks who are addicted to cookies just as much as word puzzles. I'm definitely in that group, by the way. And there are 3 12-letter words that can be made from the letters in Oreo helpings. They're all a little bit tricky, but they are super cool words. We've got nephrologies, phrenologies, and pigeonholers. Now, for our next puzzle, it is important to remember that fish, just like humans, can definitely experience emotions because herring is sad has 2 anagrams in Scrabble. And they're both very common words and super fun. We've got hairdressing and ride-sharings. Now, I don't think I've ever seen a herring getting its hair dressed. After all, as far as I know, herrings have scales, not hair. And I've definitely never seen a herring in an Uber or Lyft, but I guess there's a first time for everything. For this next puzzle, I admittedly couldn't come up with quite as funny a phrase just because the letters are a lot clunkier. The best I could do was quits a motion, as in stops moving. Surprisingly, given that we have a Q and no E's, there are 2 12-letter words that can be made from the letters in quits a motion. So let's not quit moving these tiles and rearrange them to find the super fun pair of anti-mosquito and misquotation. This might actually be my favorite puzzle of the video just because of how ugly these tiles look. Like I said, you definitely wouldn't expect a 12-letter word with a Q and also no E's in it and lots of duplicates. You've got 2 O's, 2 I's, and 2 T's to have even 1 anagram, let alone 2. So pretty fun stuff here. Our next puzzle is certainly one that appeals to me as an avid hiker. We've got 2 anagrams for the 12-letter phrase Ungated Trail. And they're both common words, but a little bit tricky to find. We've got adulterating and triangulated. We're now going to graduate from 12-letter words to 13-letter words with what might be my favorite phrase I came up with for any of these puzzles. Phoniest liars. There are 2 anagrams for this phrase, and they are super fun. We've got relationships and rhinoplasties. And both of these are pretty ironic given the phrase of phoniest liars I came up with. Since I think it goes without saying that if you're one of the phoniest liars, that's going to make it fairly difficult to develop close relationships. And also, Pinocchio was one of the phoniest liars, and well, I'll leave it to you guys to see what the relationship is, pun intended, between Pinocchio and rhinoplasties. Our next puzzle is a shout out to anybody named Carl who may be watching this video. We've got 2 anagrams for Carl is patient. And to everybody, both named Carl and not named Carl, who's watching this video, if you're patient enough, you may be able to determine that these 2 anagrams are the fun pair of antiparticles and paternalistic. We now have a pair of 13-letter anagrams that better be really funny, because we wouldn't want to disappoint this comical Mr. over here on the left, and I think they're pretty good. We've got commercialist and microclimates as a really clever pair of 13-letter anagrams. We're going to close out our section on 13-letter words with this very studious Scrabble student over here who is training in Scrabble school. There are 2 anagrams for train in school, and we've got chlorinations as well as non-historical. We're now going to move on from 13-letter words and up the ante once more, this time to 14-letter words. In this puzzle, we'll be looking for 2 anagrams of reinvestigator. Now, interestingly and somewhat surprisingly if you ask me, reinvestigator is not a valid word, which is why I've written it with a hyphen on this slide. Reinvestigate and investigator are both valid, but not reinvestigator. However, reinvestigator does have 2 valid anagrams, and they are both pretty cool. Now, I will warn you, one of them is very obscure. However, one of them is a common word, so it's still definitely worth pausing the video and seeing what you can find. The common word is interrogatives, and the obscure word is tergiversation, which is basically a synonym of equivocation or being unsure about something. So perhaps some of you who found interrogatives were tergiversating about what the anagram of interrogatives might be. Shout out to anybody who got at least one of these, and major shout out to anybody who managed to find both of these. Extremely impressive. We now have another fun set of 14-letter anagrams, porpoises units. So, as many of you are probably aware, porpoises are marine mammals similar to dolphins, and they are known to be very smart, so it certainly wouldn't shock me if they had their own special system of units that they use to communicate with one another about things like distance and time. That being said, what really matters for this video is the fact that porpoises units has 2 14-letter anagrams, and those 2 words are propitiousness and superpositions. Both of these words are probably familiar to some viewers, but for those wondering, propitiousness is the state of being propitious, and propitious means favorable. Superpositions is, of course, the plural of superposition, which is basically the action of placing one thing above another thing. We're going to close out this video with significant oil. Now, this one was particularly surprising to me when I came across it because significant oil comes with a significant number of I's. In this 14-letter phrase, we have 4 I's, and yet despite that, there are 2 valid words that can be made from these letters. And those 2 words are fictionalizing and lignifications. Fictionalizing is the British spelling of fictionalizing with the Z. We saw this once earlier in the video. Comes up fairly often, as I said before. Most words that can be spelled I-Z-E, and their variants are valid with I-S-E in Scrabble. And lignification is the act of turning something into wood. Lignify, which does come up here and there in Scrabble as a 7-letter verb, means to turn something into wood. So there you have it, guys. Those are the 2 anagrams of significant oil. And that concludes this video on some really cool pairs and trios of 12, 13, and 14-letter anagrams. So really hope you guys enjoyed this, learned some new words. Again, they probably won't be too useful to you over the Scrabble board, but still some fun facts to go impress your friends with. I hope you'll share these, and let me know if you want me to do more of these, or if you have any other fun ideas that might make good content for my channel. So that's it for this one, guys. As always, really appreciate your support and taking the time to watch. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.